Hi there, and welcome to part 3, finalizing the Reading in Israel Made Easy YouTube series. In part 1, we learned all about the Geresh, and in part 2, we covered the Gershaim. If you missed out on part 1 or part 2, click the links above and catch up before diving into today's video. Today we're covering the third and fourth marks that will take your Hebrew reading skills to the next level. And let me tell you, these last Hebrew marks are much easier and more familiar to learn as English speakers. Finally, right? My name is Inbal and I help English speakers learn and love Hebrew. Check out my website for my free guides, best-selling workbooks, and much more, all linked in the description. HebrewByInbal.com. First up is the mirchaot. Mirchaot. Mirchaot, which is the Hebrew version of quotation marks or inverted commas that you already know from English. And to make things even easier, the current usage rules for the mirchaot in Hebrew are actually based on those for quotation marks or inverted commas in the US. Told you we finally have something easy and familiar to learn. Just like in English, mirchaot can be used to enclose direct speech or a quotation. When quoting someone directly, we use the mirchaot to enclose the direct speech, just like with this quotation of Oscar Wilde. Be yourself, everyone else is already taken. And in Hebrew, tihiyu atzmechem, kol hashar kvar tfusim. In this example of Albert Einstein's famous quote, שני דברים הם אינסופיים, היקום והטיפשות האנושית, ואני לא בטוח לגבי היקום. We can see not only the mirchaot used to indicate that we have a quote here, but also that Hebrew, much like English, uses a range of punctuation marks, such as the full stop period, commas, and the colon. These marks are used similarly to how they're used in English, which means that you can safely skip over these lessons. The Hebrew mirchaot can be a double or a single punctuation mark. Completely FYI, in Hebrew, single mirchaot are called mirchaot bodedot, which literally means single in a plural feminine form because the word mirchaot is also plural feminine. Double mirchaot is called mirchaot kfulot, which literally means double in Hebrew in plural feminine form. The single and double mirchaot serve multiple purposes and roles, as we'll see next, and are often used interchangeably. The second use of the mirchaot, in addition to quotation marks, is to enclose the name of a work or institution, especially when it appears within a sentence. Here you can see more use of the single mirchaot, just like in this example. The movie Gone with the Wind was playing in Hollywood Cinema Theater in Tel Aviv. הסרט חלף עם הרוח הוקרן בקולנוע הוליווד בתל אביב. We can see the single mirchaot, marking that the movie is titled Gone with the Wind, חלף עם הרוח in Hebrew, as well as the cinema theater, Hollywood. Another example would be the audience rose to sing the Israeli national anthem, Hatikva. Hakahal kam l'shirat hatikva. The word hatikva literally means the hope. So in this sentence, we want to emphasize that the audience did not rise to sing the hope, but rather to sing the Israeli national anthem called Hatikva. We mark that using the single mirchaot. In addition, the mirchaot can be used to highlight a word or phrase that needs emphasis in a sentence, especially when it's not used in its regular sense or role. I do not understand the word feel. אני לא מבין את המילה מרגיש. The word feel, מרגיש, can be marked using single mirchaot or double mirchaot. When we use mirchaot for more than one purpose within a single text, or when we have a quote within a quote, we typically use double mirchaot for the main quote or for one purpose, and a single mirchaot for the quote within a quote or to emphasize the second distinct role indicated by the mirchaot. In the sentence we just saw, I don't understand the word feel. If that would be a quote, we would usually use double mirchaot for the quote, I don't understand the word feel, and we will mark the word feel, margish, with a single mirchaot within that quote. I don't understand the word feel, he said. אני לא מבין את המילה מרגיש, הוא אמר. Lastly, mirchaot can also be used for air quotes, sarcasm, irony, slang, and to convey the opposite meaning of the usual meaning of that word. The mirchaot, like all punctuation marks, are relatively new in the Hebrew language and did not exist in traditional Hebrew books. That is why in the Bible, while there is a wide use of quotations, there are no quotation marks found in the traditional Bible. This is how it would look like. There are, though, different markings in the Bible, like this one, used to indicate direct speech or a quotation. This mark, marked in color, appears above the word vayomer, indicating a direct speech. Since the beginning of using mirchaot in the Hebrew language, their shape and design evolved over time. In older Hebrew printing, double mirchaot was used in the following way. The first pair was low and the second was high. Their shape was straight diagonals or rounded to the left. In newer Hebrew books, double quotation marks are usually used in two identical diagonal pairs, and for a quote within a quote, single quotation marks like these are used. How do we distinguish between mirchaot, the geresh, and the gershaim? If the context does not give it away, look for the position in the quantity. Mirchaot always appears as a pair at the beginning and end of a word, words, or a sentence, and they're never positioned mid-word. The geresh, on the other hand, appears as a single mark at the end or mid-word, depending on its purpose, while the gershaim appears as a single mark before the last letter of the original word, not including added suffixes. So if you're not sure, check for the presence of one or two marks in their positions. Keep in mind that mistakes in this area are common, and many Hebrew speakers and Israelis are not familiar with Hebrew marks as you are now. And we have reached our fourth and final Hebrew mark, which is also an easy and fun one. The makaf is a hyphen or dash in Hebrew. Makaf. Makaf. Unlike the mirchaot, the Hebrew makaf has its origin in the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, and it is formally positioned at the top of the line rather than in the middle, like the English hyphen or dash, although in practice, many people place it in the middle. Not to be confused with the similar-looking sign used to separate parts of the sentence, the makaf has four main uses in Hebrew. The first and very common one is joining two or more words that form a single concept, indicating the close connection between them. We can see it in names of cities like Tel Aviv, as well as Tel Aviv Yafo, including the neighboring Jaffa. And speaking of Tel Aviv, we will also see it abbreviated using the gershaim, just like this. Sfat em is mother tongue, literally joining together the words mother, ima or em, and language, safa, sfat em, with the makaf between both words. Other examples are homeowner, Baal Bait, international, Bein Leumi, international. Inter is Bein, Leumi is national, international. Socioeconomical, חברתי, כלכלי. חברתי is social, כלכלי is economical. Socioeconomical, חברתי, כלכלי. And we also see it when we have more than one family names. Galila, Ron, Feder, Amit. Ron, Feder, Amit are three family names, and they are connected by the Hebrew makaf. Another use, which is optional, is between two identical words indicating the repetition of the word to express a gradual process of an action or a description, like day by day, yom, yom. step by step, shalav, shalav, one by one, echad, echad. It is also used when we transliterate foreign words, joining the names of the letters, like in the case of NBA, or OK, CIA, and CNN. And lastly, we use the makaf in sequences that include two different types of characters, such as letters and numbers, or Hebrew and English letters. In 2018, we would write be makaf 2018. Some 100 participants, we would write ke 100 משתתפים. At 10 a.m. would be be 10. And if we want to write to Facebook and keep Facebook in English, we would write le Facebook, just like this. Now that you have a good grasp on the four main Hebrew marks, let's see them in action. They're not only in Hebrew signs, they're also in books. And so I grabbed some of my personal books that I have at home in Hebrew, and we're going to take a fun little journey through some random pages to see what kind of marks we can find and what they actually mean. You never know, we may even spot some hidden gems that I never noticed before. So I grabbed a sample of my collection of books in Hebrew, and I started putting post-it notes where I found examples of all the Hebrew marks that we learned in this series of videos, but I found so many so quickly that I would just run out of post-its before I go over all of them. So I just want to show you a few examples very quickly of everything that we learned. So we can see first here, these signs. And here, these signs are used as single milchaot because this is a name of a piece, a name of a collection of books. I am not quite sure. It depends on the context. And here we can see the geresh. It is attached right after the gimel letter. And here it is used to indicate that the sound is j and not g. Here we can see double milchaot because this is a quote. And then it says that this quote comes from a review on Sochim, which is a name of a piece. So here we have double milchaot for quotations, and here we have single milchaot indicating the name of the piece. And we see it here again. Double milchaot for a quotation, starting the quotation, ending the quotation. And here, this is part of a review about the name of the piece, ta'alul. And we see the single milchaot. Let's see some more examples that I marked in these books. In books in Hebrew, when we open the first pages of the book, we will usually see information about the book, about the publishing company. So we can see a few things here that are interesting. First of all, we see an address. So we see P.O. Box, Tevat Doar, and it is using Gershaim to abbreviate it. We see the Gershaim as well for the Hebrew ISBN. We see here the Hebrew year of Tav Shin Lamed Zayin with the Gershaim sign. We see the Geresh abbreviating the word page. Quotation is on page 161, and then we have a quotation. So we have the milchaot for quotation, and the quotation is from this piece. So this piece is marked with milchaot. And we see the geresh here indicating that this is John. So this is indication of the sound j right next to the letter gimel. And we see here the Hebrew year, Tav Shin Lamed Aleph, with the Gershaim sign indicating the Hebrew year. So already so much use of all we learned. Let's go to the text and see what we can find. Okay, so here we find the makaf. As we said, when we have a combination of Hebrew letters and numbers or Hebrew letters and English letters, we use the makaf. So this is in year, in 1956. So we have the makaf here. We see a quotation here, starting, ending, and so we have mirchaot for a quotation. And here again, he was born in 1891. We have the makaf here. And perhaps there is more on that page. This is just the next page. This is how common and frequent we find these markings. Let's see what I found here that I marked. I wanted to show you again in this page the sign that looks almost like the makaf. It is mid-line and it is not used as a makaf. It is used as a separator, separating different parts of the sentence. So whenever you see the sign that looks like a makaf, but it is not attached to the word, there is a spacing and it is located mid-height of the sentence and not at the top. It is not a makaf. It is not used to join words and parts together, but rather to separate parts of the sentence. So that is what I wanted to show you here. Moving on to the next page, we have a quotation here using the mirchaot. We see it again and we see it again. Let's see our next page. On the next page, we can see the grade. This is 6th grade, Kita Vav, and we can see the geresh for Kita Vav using the letter Vav, and it indicates the grade. We see quotations everywhere, and we see here the geresh again, indicating that this is Jim. This Gimel is not to be pronounced as G, but as J for Jim. And right after it, we see the makaf, putting together the word cousin. It's the cousin, so it is ben hadod, and it is one unit. So we see the makaf putting it together. Let's see our next page. We see quotations using the mirchaot, and we also see 14, which is arba esre, connected by a makaf sign, arba esre, and we can see more examples in our next book. As we open it, let's start with our opening. We can see here the geresh, abbreviating the word page, amud. We can see the mirchaot, double mirchaot used for a quotation, and we see double mirchaot here indicating the name of the piece. We see here that this is the 9th edition and this is the Hebrew year using girshaim, tav shin pe aleph with a girshaim. We also see that this is the LTD or ink for the name of the publication, ba'am, and we see it here again. It was printed on this Hebrew year, so we see the girshaim here, and let's see what the first page shows us. So here we can see a quotation. Hold on just a minute. Rak rega, said the Ralashit, and this is an IDF abbreviation. So it uses girshaim. And we have here the Ramatkal that we actually learned. Chief of Staff in the IDF, Ramatkal, abbreviated using the girshaim. Let's see our next page. We see the quotation marks, starting, ending, and we also see the mirchaot, the double mirchaot, emphasizing a word. This sentence says, it was always him or the kid. To emphasize these words, they used double girshaim. This is not a quotation. This is for emphasis. And we see the quotations again and again and again. I truly hope that you enjoyed and learned at least one new thing in the series of videos. If you did, it would mean the world to me if you could like this video and share it with others who would love it as well. By doing that, you're telling YouTube, these videos are good. You should show them to more people. So please take a second to like and share, and thank you so much for doing that in advance. Write me in the comments your thoughts and questions about this video and about your Hebrew journey. Click here to watch the perfect video right after this one. Toda and shalom.